Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing, can you get your ex back after a short relationship? I provide audio and email coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing, can you get your ex back after a short relationship? I am often asked by people, what are the chances of trying to get your ex back if your relationship was short term? What are the possibilities that you can reconcile with an ex that you wasn't together long with when you were in a relationship? So in today's podcast, I thought I would go into this and explain to you the chances and the possibility of whether or not you can get your ex back if your relationship was short. So first of all, we need to understand, why does a breakup take place? And a breakup takes place because the level of romantic emotional attraction that one or both people feel for each other plummets to a certain low point. So when you were together in a relationship, the level of romantic emotional attraction was high. And for whatever reason, this has lessened, this has dropped, and now at a certain low point, a breakup has occurred. The only way a relationship can get back on track, the only way somebody can get their ex back, the only way there can be reconciliation is if the level of romantic emotional attraction is once again high between both people. And there are many different ways you can do this and try to grow this level of romantic emotional attraction in your former partner. But today I'm not going to be focusing on how you can do this. If you want to understand how you can try and get your ex back on the basis of growing romantic emotional attraction in their mind that they feel for you, please make sure you check out my other podcasts, and also remember to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications so you are notified of my future uploads and live streams. But today we're just looking at the general premise of, can you get your ex back after a short relationship? And the short answer to this is yes, it is possible. But I need to explain to you what the actual chances are of you achieving this, because yes, it's possible, but is it likely? So as I said, to try and get your ex back, you need to try and grow the level of romantic emotional attraction that your ex feels for you, that the dumper feels for you, because at the time of a breakup, it had dropped very low. Now, one of the reasons that you can grow romantic emotional attraction is because you have history together. And when you have history together, you have triggers which can remind you of certain times in your life which were very positive, and that can pull on the intrigue and the interest of your ex. But when we are thinking of short-term relationships, sadly, due to the length of time you were together, there would have been less triggers. There are less memories that can be reminded of in your ex's feelings. So your ex can't be reminded of things which didn't take place. So if you had a short-term relationship, you probably didn't experience Christmas, New Year, maybe you didn't even have Valentine's Day. It all depends, of course, on what is a short-term relationship. I would suggest that is something which is less than a year, but mainly let's focus on even shorter than that, maybe a few months, or maybe even if you was together for a very short time, maybe it was a holiday romance. So if we're thinking of all of these different permutations of a short-term relationship, we can consider that there are many different variants. If you had a holiday romance, you might have only been together a week or 2 weeks, and therefore it would have been very lustful. And yet you would have still had a big memory of your holiday together, and that would count as a trigger for future holidays, for future times of year when you went on that holiday, and therefore you can see how even a very short-term relationship can have a trigger. So if your relationship was slightly longer than something which was only a week or two, then of course you would have even more memories and even more potential triggers. So let's consider a relationship which was a few months long. In that period of time, you would have had many experiences compared to somebody who had only been together a week or two. However, those experiences might not have been huge memories. So if you see what I'm saying, it all depends on what you experienced together, because those memories will equate to potential triggers which can pull on your ex's mindset. So now let's consider what would be deemed on the longer side of a short-term relationship, and that would be when we get to the year mark or so, probably just beforehand, and that is where you can really say the cut-off point is of a short-term relationship. Now, although you would have had no anniversaries, an anniversary, of course, can only happen once you're over a year together. But once you've got to nearly a year, you would have gone past numerous important days on the calendar, possibly Christmas, possibly New Year, possibly birthdays. And these type of things will, of course, count as huge memories in each other's life, which therefore will equate to triggers. So when we think of short-term relationships, we have to consider the triggers that could be formed due to the memories which were created when you were together. So you need to be considering not necessarily how long your relationship was, but how many special days and how many memories were built. So it might not even be a special day on the calendar. It might just be that you went on a fantastic trip together. Maybe you went on holiday together. Whatever the situation is, you need to be considering what will count as triggers in your ex's mind. What can be pulled on that? You might be a couple that was together for a long, long time, but not have really enjoyed many experiences together compared to a couple who was together for a short period of time and have had lots of memories built. Every situation is different, and you need to consider that when we think to ourselves, what are the chances of regrowing enough romantic emotional attraction and then having the trigger as an ignition to create a situation where your ex wants to reach out to you. So there is no 100% guaranteed way to get your ex back, whether you was together 10 years, 10 months or 10 weeks. But what we can say in general is the longer you were together, the more memories were created, the more time you spent together, the bond would have been deeper, and therefore you will have an easier time of reattracting your ex based on those memories and triggers. If you were in a short-term relationship, this is going to be more challenging. But as I said, it is dependent on the memories that you created together and therefore the triggers which might be able to take place. Something else to consider that when you're in a short-term relationship is that this might be deemed as a very lustful relationship, and this can be good and bad. Possibly your relationship ended because once you started to get to know each other, you found out that your values weren't really aligned and you couldn't connect long term. That might be why your breakup took place, but that would have left a very lustful period of time where you were together, and that can be deemed as a positive memory as well. There is something called the fading effect bias, and I've spoke about this in previous podcasts, so please make sure you check it out. And the fading effect bias is the premise that negative memories fade sooner than positive memories. So as time goes on, people don't forget the negatives, but they have less value in their mind than positive memories. So if you and your ex were in a short-term relationship and you had a great time, maybe it was a lustful time, and then you started to get to know each other and you realised your values weren't quite aligned and therefore you split up. As time moves on, those negative thoughts and processes in your ex's mind will fade sooner than the positive memories that you had together when things were more fun and lustful. And this could engage your ex enough to make them want to contact you once more. However, in this situation, please consider, if your values weren't aligned back then, are they really going to be aligned right now? If not, then you won't get very far, and that is the reality of things. Short-term relationships are generally short-term for a reason, and that is because there is a huge problem between both people, whether it's values, goals, whether people live in different areas which are too difficult to commute. Whatever the scenario, there was a reason why your relationship ended short term, and we can't just ignore that, because even if you hear from your ex again and even if you work through back into a relationship once more, if these things aren't sorted out, if these things aren't aligned, then sadly a breakup will likely take place again. So the short answer to can you get your ex back if you was in a short relationship is yes, it is certainly possible. But the longer answer suggests it would depend on the memories you created together and whether or not you could align in the future. Please remember that with or without your ex, you will have a positive future. You can move forward in your life and meet somebody even better than a previous partner, providing you go through self-improvement and become a better version of yourself every single day. Become a better person tomorrow than you are today, and a better person today than you were yesterday. If you do this, then you will grow your attraction net and be able to attract a wider range of people, somebody even better than your short-term ex. So please try not to get stuck in the moment. Try not to get stuck in the fact of trying to get an ex back if it seems an impossibility. There is always a chance you can get your ex back, but there is also always a chance that you will be unsuccessful in your attempt. And I don't want you clock watching. I don't want you waiting around. We have one life. Life is not a dress rehearsal. You must move forward with positivity and self-improvement, and therefore you will either get your ex back or you will find somebody even better because you are putting in the effort and you are pushing forward and making new connections. Don't sit around, and you never know in the future, you might hear from your ex again. But even if you don't, if you do the right things, you will find an even better connection. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent Bo, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent Bo got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.